Okay, if we can get the meeting started. This is Tracy Johns, Chair of GCTE for 23-24. I appreciate you attending today. We need to establish a quorum, so what we need to do is call out the name of the committee chairs and the past GCTE chair to make sure we have a quorum.
Hey, Tracy, this is Lynn. You want me to do that?
Please.
All right, so you're on the line. I'm on the line. How about Crystal Smith?
The line.
For the outpatient clinics.
Kendra Home? Didn't see her. I was trying to look and see. How about Kelly Roker?
Kelly is in a meeting right now, and then she was going to join when it
Okay, it
finished.
does, yes.
Okay.
And how much is it now, Jen?
Hey, Cheryl, can you mute your line?
I know Kelly's on. We heard her earlier. But Karen Hust, are you on?
Hey, yes, I'm here.
Okay, so did Kendra ever respond? So it looks like we have 6 out of the 8. Oh, and I saw Jesse on earlier too. So is my math correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. So we need to approve the minutes from our March the 1st meeting.
I have one change to the minutes. This is Tracy, and it would be on page 7, near the bottom of the page, just beneath performance improvement, where I mentioned about a level 3 and 4 work group mentorship. They are working on several things, but the primary goal of this group is just to be mentorship and help each other do this. So I just wanted to make sure that that's reflected in the minutes. So I might not have spoken correctly at our last meeting. So just to know that that level 3-4 work group is primarily mentorship, but they do help with those things that are mentioned.
Any other changes? Okay. So can we need to get an approval?
That's the University Medical Center.
Of the minutes with that change on page 7 for the level 3-4 work group is primarily a mentorship. With that change, can we get an approval? Anyone?
I motion to approve.
Right, Danielle?
Yep.
And I'll second that.
And Jesse gives some seconds. All right, all in favor, or we'll take the silences. All in favor or any opposed? Speak up now. All right, so that's a motion to approve the minutes without one change. So do we have any introductions of any new members since our last meeting in March? Does anyone have anyone?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, this is Hunter Couric. I've recently become the educator for children's for trauma. So this is the first call that I'm on.
Great, welcome.
I work with Kelly. Yep.
Hey everyone, this is Shelley Kitchens and Michael Paget from Washington County Regional Medical Center in Sandersville.
Welcome.
I'm the ER nurse manager and he is our EMS director.
Okay.
No.
Welcome. Anyone else? Okay, well, we'll go to Liz with the Georgia Trauma Commission update.
Thanks, Tracy. A few updates, and I'm going to turn it over to Katie. She's going to share a presentation that you all should have seen a little while ago, but we're about to change your invoicing procedure to make it a little easier for next fiscal year starting July 1. I sent an email earlier today that your contracts will be a little bit delayed. And that's a result of the state budget was not approved until the very last day of session. And then it took a while for the budget committee to work through, frankly, a lot of issues. And we have a lot more funding priorities, and we're now up to 35 centers in the system, and we have more potentially coming on board. So with that, it's a fine balance to not, erode the funding level that currently exists. And we want to keep everybody happy and participating in the system, but, we have limited funds to do that. So, but I was happy to be able to tell everybody that if you're designated or eligible according to your eligibility in terms of ACS verification requirement as a 1 or 2, or burn, there is funding will be provided on some level for everybody. So, so that's actually really good news. So for some of you who weren't historically included in the funding, this means that, and in years past, we did those sort of one-time grants, but now you'll be contracted, you'll be subject to the same performance-based pay metrics, et cetera. So we anticipate that by the 3rd week in June, and I know that's a little close to the fiscal year, we have really strived to get those contracts out very early to you, but just, given the delays in processes, unfortunately, that was not possible. So Katie will talk more about what that invoice processing will look like. We still, even though our process has changed quite a bit with the establishment of the trust fund, we will still always have amendments likely. So there will probably be additional reallocation at the end of the year. In addition, we get fireworks funds sort of after at the start of the legislative session. That usually comes through. So so we probably will still have amendments, but there won't be this rush for us to sort of calculate and figure out what your PVP will be, because similar to the CMS model, where your current performance dictates your future economic reality, that's sort of how we will roll now moving forward. In addition, since this is the first year for the ACS requirement, we are going to need everybody's letter of ACS verification with your contract. I know some folks are pushing that ACS verification is not, I think there's one center actually at the very end of June, so that's cutting it a little bit close. So we'll need your letter. We're asking for that by October 1st. We know you don't have any control over the ACS processes. My understanding is they've been a little bit more timely in getting the letters back. So so we'll work with you. We just need to make sure that that is validated. And then before Katie goes in, oh, yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us who we need to send the letters to?
Yeah, the GTC Business Ops, same place that you send them. I don't want your letter with your deficiencies and whatever on it. I just need the letter. This is your
Right.
your or your provisional, either or. It doesn't matter. ACS views provisional as a full verification until you correct whatever it is you have to correct. So we view that as your ACS verified as well.
Thank you.
Great question. Anything else on any of that? Before Katie goes into just kind of updating you on what the invoice process will look like, I think Gina is on the line. If you want to, we've gotten a lot of questions about the DeSoto meeting in terms of attendance and what the sort of closed session will look like. I hate to call it a closed session. It sounds like we're purposefully excluding people, and that is entirely not the point. But Gina will talk a little bit about why that's necessary and what the goal is that we're trying to do with that.
Yes, I'm on and I will do the best I can to try to explain this. And I think the best way to kind of liken this that everybody can understand is, how we do our trauma peer review. And we know that when we do our trauma peer review that, who we let into that room is kind of, for it to be protected, is kind of dictated by the Georgia peer review law. And part of that is, it has to be a licensed personnel. So we're trying to fall under that. And we also want it to be protected in a way that, folks feel comfortable sharing. Which is why, we are morphing things to look a little bit different, and we'll have that closed session. For those that have been around for a while, you may remember that we did this many years ago at Grady, where we signed confidentiality agreements when we came into the room, and we kind of had a controlled room of who was in there, so everybody kind of felt comfortable speaking. We know who are in there. Everybody signed confidentiality agreements, and it will look very similar to that. So that's the reason for why we're calling it a closed session. So we meet those peer review standards, so it is protected from a Georgia peer review law. So it will not be subject to any open records of what's discussed in there, what is shared in there. As we unblind some of the TKIP reports, the performance matrix summaries, as well as we're going to do some case reviews in there, and talk about that on a high level basis. So that way we know that nothing, will leave that room. So that's why we're kind of calling that a closed session. And we had some really good suggestions to put that at the end of the day. So that way, if others wanted to attend, if we had some registrars or some other folks that wanted to attend, they can attend all the other sessions, and we put that piece at the end of the day for that. So that's why that session is marked as closed, because that's what it's going to look like. So, I am happy to answer any questions about that. If you want to shoot me an email, you want more information, or you want to chat about it, happy to do so. So I hope that helps clarify a little bit.
Any questions for Gina? And feel free to type in the chat, and I'm actually going through and muting folks. So please mute your line if you're not. It creates so much background noise. That would be so helpful. Thank you. Thanks, Gina. Appreciate it. I think Katie's going to share her PowerPoint now. While she's doing that, for the registry and PI group, the commission did approve the educational funding request for the courses that you guys proposed. So that's good news. We will need to work with you guys to sort of start to set that up, and hopefully we can get those funds encumbered to the entities that do the courses. So that'll make it the cleanest for us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Most of you have seen this PowerPoint, but it's been a while back. So we're just going to hit a refresher since it's coming up on our FY24 contracts that you will be receiving about by June 19th.
Katie, can you put it on full screen or put it on Zoom?
Yes, I can. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. All right. The first thing we're going to go over is the invoice process change. According to Georgia Code, to develop, implement, administer, and maintain a system to compensate designated trauma centers for a portion of their cost of readiness through a semi-annual distribution from the Georgia Trauma Trust Fund in a standardized amount determined by the commission. So instead of doing the quarterly invoices, we're going to go to semi-annual. This is what it's looked like since 2011. You guys have been invoicing quarterly. the items that you've been invoicing for, uncompensated care and readiness, and then readiness throughout the remainder of the quarterly invoices. And the challenges with the quarterly payment is time consuming for both you guys as well as us to validate the deliverables and process invoices quarterly. I'm sure everybody is thankful to just go to 2 payments a year. The proposed changes is transitioning, like we said, to semi-annual. So the first invoice will just be your registry, and that will be due on January 31st, and that will be July through December. And then your second semi-annual invoice will be your readiness and uncompensated care, and that includes your performance-based pay. This is just a breakdown of comparison between the 2 quarterly invoicing and the proposed semi-annual invoicing. The next is the prospective performance-based payment change. There is not many changes that were made. It's more just meeting attendance. For performance-based payment program has been part of the trauma center contract since 2010. We started at only 10% of readiness for level 1s and 2s, and now we're up to 80% for level 1s and 2s. And this was published in 2017 in the American Surgeon. Your current performance-based payment process, performance-based pay scorecards adjust the current fiscal year's final 4th quarter payment. The trauma centers receive their amended contracts based on the results of the PVP scorecard once calculations are made. And that was done on the yearly basis. So for 2023, what you guys just received in your amendment was based on your FY23 scorecard results. The challenges with this is payment variability for your financial planning, improves fiscal planning for expected distribution, frequent delays associated with delayed scorecard submissions, calculations and contract amendments, and the overlap between the amended contracts and the next fiscal year execution. So starting in 24, your performance-based pay portion of readiness will be determined by your performance on the prior fiscal year's PVP criteria. So what you all received on your FY23 scorecard results will be your FY24 performance-based pay. And then it will proceed on from there. So your FY24 results will be your FY25 performance-based payout. Your current level of performance is your future economic reality. And this just shows the breakdown. So FY23 scorecards will be based on, or your FY24 performance-based pay distribution will be based on your FY23 scorecard results. And then for FY25, that will be based on your FY24 scorecard performance. And like I mentioned, there are no major changes to your performance-based pay criteria. For your performance-based pay meeting attendance verification, we ran into some issues this year on validating attendance. So if you could please make sure that you scan the QR code at the beginning of the meeting, or you can click the link provided in the Zoom chat during the meeting. And then if you call in by phone, please email our GTC business ops to advise of your attendance. And the final check would be if you look at the meeting minutes, if your name is not listed, please inform us promptly. And the meeting minutes are posted to our website 2 to 3 weeks after the meeting. And for future discrepancies, this will result in a loss of performance-based pay percentages of funding associated with the specific meeting attendance criteria in question. So summary of fiscal year 2024 trauma center contract changes. We will be moving to semi-annual invoice payments. Also, your readiness payments will be based upon prior year PBP results. Your current level of performance is your future economic reality, and there are no major changes to the performance-based pay criteria. And if you guys have any questions, I would be happy to take them.
Hey, Katie, this is Kelly Vaughn.
Hey, Kelly.
Well, can you go back to the slide that talks about the fiscal year 2023? Right, go forward, right there. So, the scorecard itself, some of the information that we supply is calendar year. So what you're saying here is the scorecard that we submitted for 2023, that some ask some calendar year information and some fiscal year is what you're going off of. You're not asking us to go back and recalculate anything for fiscal year 2023, correct?
No, that's correct. What
Okay.
you submitted on your scorecard is the results that will be for your distribution for FY24.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Kelly, that was a good question. And FY24 will impact, so it's a rolling, so we're not having to calculate. So you still have to keep up with your scorecard and still have to do your, everything will stay the same. You'll still submit it. It's that we just won't be doing the calculation last minute in preparation for your next year's scorecard, if that makes sense.
Katie, can you repeat those due dates for the first and second invoices?
Yes.
It'll all be in your contract too, Tracy.
Yes. Your first invoice will be due January 31st, and your second invoice will be due July 31st. It's the same due dates in this current contract, but you're just going to be submitting the first half instead of two within the first half, if that makes sense.
Hey, it's Gina, and I'll just add one thing for the PDP. Now that we have data and the ability, I know you mark on your scorecard for those things like the trauma surgeon arrival time. Since we have data and we are able to confirm that, we will be confirming that based on your data that you submit to the GQIP central site. So just letting you know that you know, you will submit your scorecard, but we'll also be confirming based on the data that you send to the GQIP central site.
All right. No other questions? And you can email me at any time. I know there might be some questions once the contracts are released and the due dates are coming up, but if you have any questions, please reach out to me at any time.
Thank you, Katie. Liz, do you have anything else to report?
Nothing else unless there's any other questions.
Okay, thanks. So Marie, do you or I didn't put April's name on here. You or April or Michael have anything to report?
Hi, everyone. This is Marie Probst. I'll just take a few minutes because I'm sure April and Michael have some news they want to share. Quickly, the Q3 OTCPE and the burn form were reviewed and completed. And I want to thank April Moss for jumping in with both feet to review those quarterly reports with me. And I encourage everybody to log into the license management system to review the feedback that April posted. I know she had some questions for some of you, so please do that and respond back to her. For the Q4 report, the form opens June 15th. It's due July 15th, and it closes July 31st. And remember, this is the annual report, so it's longer. So just try to allow extra time for you to complete it before the July 15th due date. The fiscal year 24 quarterly reports are being revised. I've met with, April and I have met with the burn centers to go through the burn form and make changes based on their recommendations. If you have any for the regular trauma form, please let us know so that we can consider those and put them into the quarterly report for next year. The next item is the registry data download for 2023 data records are on hold until ESO distributes the 2023 SDL file. If everyone will remember, each center had to install an SDL file for the year to be able to send data for that particular year. Well, this will occur every year. So the SDL file is delayed at the moment because of the national and state changes that we have to make, and the due date will coincide with the TQIP, GQIP, NTDB due date of July 15th. So we are anticipating completing the state updates and getting that file over to ESO so they can finish their work and get the file out to you guys by late July or sooner. And just as a reminder for anybody that for the minutes, an email was sent out to everyone on the GCTE list yesterday about the download being postponed. So be sure to check your email. The last thing I want to mention is we need to verify the record counts for the 2021 and 2022 data that has been imported into the Georgia Patient Registry. And we thank you in advance for your cooperation as we work through that process. So that's all from me.
Marie, I have a question. Is there any way that we can open the annual report sooner than the 15th? Just to make sure that we get everything done?
Oh, sure. I can change the date for you. What date, how soon would you want to go in?
Probably July 1, just to give me a chance to go back and make sure I've got everything together, because I have to do it kind of incrementally. I can't do it in one sitting.
No problem. The form actually opens
even just a week earlier.
No problem. The form actually is set to open June 15th. So everybody has really.
Great. I thought you said July 15th, and so June 15th is perfect.
Yes, the form opens.
Due the 7/31.
Well, the form is due July 15th.
Oh, okay. So the form opens on June 15th and it's due July 15th.
Correct. And we're allowing a 10-day grace period, which takes it out to July 31st.
Okay, thank you. This is the old lady who can't hear.
My audio might not be the best, so I apologize there, but yes, June 15th. In a couple of weeks, the form will open. The form is due July 15th, and the form will close July 31st.
Okay, thank you, Marie. This is April. So I just want to echo what Marie said about your OTCPEs. If everyone could please take the time to go in and see their section comments. I did have just a couple of things throughout there, questions, concerns. So just get back to me whenever you've had an opportunity to look over them. I also want to just let everybody know the ACS letters, along with you sending them to the commission. If y'all could also make sure that our office receives your letters from ACS so that we can update our records and keep your designations current. I also we have a couple of upcoming ACS visits, and thank you for being so willing to let us participate and be a part of that with you. We want to be there to support you and your team. And then we also have a new level 3 facility onboarding this month. They have a DPH site visit, and I want to say thank you to Marie and to Lynn for helping me get all the documents together so that we can improve our designation process from our office standpoint. And for those of you that responded and were willing to help us out with those with that designation visit. We are hopefully wrapping up the interview process for the trauma coordinator position. We hope to have that position filled very, very soon. And I think that's all I have for updates. Michael, if you're on the call, do you have anything?
Yeah, that's the only thing I was going to update everyone. It was a long process, and we interviewed a lot of people for the trauma program coordinator, and we wrapped that up this week. And I think we've made the selection, and we'll be passing that paperwork on as soon as we get it all compiled to HR to let them start that process. And we also finished up the interviews this week for the Systems of Care Medical Director, which will help with the trauma program as well. Interviewed 3 quality candidates. We think we've selected the right one that will help us move trauma and all the other systems of care forward in the state, and getting that paperwork together to send to HR as well. So hopefully we'll have those 2 positions filled real soon.
I think we lost Tracy. So thank you, Marie, April, and Michael for that update. Cheryl, do you have anything for the Trauma Foundation?
Yes, I sure do. Thanks, Lynn. I have a question first. Will I be able to share my screen?
Yes, I can stop sharing and let you share. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, you should be able to share, Cheryl.
Okay.
While we're waiting for Cheryl, if I could ask a question real quick. April, did you want those ACS letters sent to you? The ACS verification letters?
Yes, ma'am, that would be perfect. And then we upload them into your hospital profiles in our LMS system, and then update the new expiration date with whatever date is on the corresponding letter.
Okay, perfect. And the comments you mentioned that you had, where do we find those? Are they in the LMS system, or did you email them to certain centers, or?
Any pressing questions I had, I did email the TPMs directly. Otherwise, they're in the comment sections of the OTCPE that you submitted through LMS.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, everybody, for my report today, I just want to update you on a couple of things. Want to make sure you're aware of two ongoing projects we have that will benefit the state's trauma system. First, as you will see on your screen, is our continuing education instructors database. It's going to be known by its acronym of CEED, which is CEID, but it's again pronounced CEED. The database is an online repository, and it's going to house information for faculty for various state and nationally approved continuing education programs. Right now, it includes 6 programs: ATCN, ATLS, ENPC, Cadaver Lab, PALS, PAIRS, RTTDC, and TNCC. So each trauma center will get one username and password to access CEED. That information is going to go out to each center sometime over the next couple of weeks. So by the middle of June, each of you will be able to access the database. Let me show you what the database looks like. Once you sign in, this is what you will come to. CEED is very intuitive. There's a number of ways that you can search for faculty. If you look on the left side of the screen, you will see that you can search by program, the RTAC region, the employer city. You can also do the employer county, or you can use any of the various programs. You can click on them and search for faculty members. And let me just click on somebody's card. Right here, you'll see it says Harold Simon. Let me see. I'd rather do it this way. Ooh, it doesn't allow me to do it that way. Okay. Well, what you'll see on each of the cards is at top, you will see the person's role and the course where they occupy that role. This says ATLS role instructor, and it offers an expiration date. So for Harold Simon, his ATLS instructor role that he's currently qualified to fill will expire on August 27th, 2023. And it will include that on each person's card if they provided us with the information. That's at the top of the card. Underneath that, you will see Harold Simon's contact information, and then you will see what he is qualified to teach underneath that. At the very bottom, you will see the person they're employed with, as well as the location of the employer. The only thing that's different is at the bottom where you see it has ATLS. There's no expiration date that's included down here in the body of the card. All the expiration dates will be at the top. Right now, there are 225 faculty members who are included in here. We hope to continue to grow the database. As people's expiration dates come up, we will remove them from the database until we get the new dates for their credentials to expire. Are there any questions concerning CEED? I know I went through that quickly. No questions? Okay.
Cheryl, I have a question.
Okay.
What's the method for updating your expirations? If we're only giving one trauma center a login, how do I make sure that I update how often I can teach TNCC or something like that?
What do you mean update? How often you can teach it?
Well, like if I expire in 4 years, what's the method for me to update you so that I remain current, I don't get pulled off of the site?
You can just reach out to the Trauma Foundation. You can send the information directly to me. So that would be Cheryl, CHERYLE, at georgiatraumafoundation.org. Or you can call, the number is 404-394-2912. You will also be able to go to our website, and you can reach me by going through the website.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Danielle. Any other questions as it relates to SEED?
So Cheryl, you would rather have the individual instructors contact you for update of their like expiration dates and stuff, or would you want that done at the facility level?
It's not really going to help at the facility level, because right now I don't have a point person at each facility to collect that information and to forward it. So right now, the best way to do it is to reach out to me. What we are looking to do at this time is, as we get started using SEED, reports
people who logged in.
Reports will be generated that lets me know when the expiration dates are about to come up, and we will send out an email saying, hey, you'll be removed from the database until we get new information on you. So right now, that's currently how we'll be handling it with the expiration dates. It may change, and if it does, then I will let you all know what the change looks like.
Okay, and will they have to include like a copy of their updated card or anything?
No, we're not requiring that. We're trusting that we're going to get the correct information. So no, that's not required by us. Any other questions as it relates to SEED? Now, if you all know of people who you think would like to be included in the database, then reach out to me, or you can have them, if you want to address them personally, have them reach out to me, because we'll send out the info sheets that each person has to complete. In the near future, the way we hope for it to work is that each trauma center will, every time there's someone who is qualified to be a faculty member, we'll ask them about participating in the database, and they'll fill out the form and automatically send it to us. So that's what we're looking to do. All right, so the next project that we have ongoing, as a matter of fact, it's just getting underway, is the coordination of continuing education programs for rural providers. The foundation is going to be working closely with GCTE's education subcommittee. And what will happen with this project, it's grant funded. It will allow us to hold classes free of charge at different rural locations all across the state. The objective is to provide a minimum of 48 continuing education courses in the state's rural communities over the next 4 years. So the course offerings in the first year will be TNCC, ENPC, and RTTDC. We're going to begin in the fall with these courses. During this time that we're conducting these courses, SEED will come in handy for us, because we're going to use it to locate faculty that's close to sites where the classes are being conducted, instead of using the same instructors to teach all across the state. In addition to that, once these courses are completed, it will allow us to expand the database of faculty. It will also allow us to identify rural training sites that can be used for course instruction well beyond the life of the grant. So again, we're working with the education subcommittee for completion of this project. Just had a call yesterday with Kendra. We've got some details to work out, and once things are finalized, she will apprise you all of the needs at that time. And she may address this a little more during her report. And finally, we're looking for ways to connect with your trauma patients so we can share their stories of survival. The only way that we can do this successfully is with your help. We would like you to, of course, with the patient's permission, share their contact information with us. From there, once we receive it, we will talk with the trauma survivor. We'll decide if we can use their stories to highlight the victories of the trauma system. What we will do with the survivor stories is they could be included in a newsletter. They could be highlighted on our website, or we could share their stories at a fundraiser. We might also call on them to share their stories at different events we have. And these efforts, Tracy and I were talking, they kind of dovetail into standard 5.28, and I think you referenced that on your agenda. So if you have questions about any of these projects or want to share trauma survivor information with me, again, I can be reached at 404-394-2912, 404-394-2912, or Cheryl, CHERYLE, at georgiatraumafoundation.org. That's all I have.
Thank you, Cheryl. Gabby, can you show us that first standard 5.28 from the handout? So I'm trying, as we go through the year, to go over different standards from the new book, and it primarily will apply to level 1, 2s, and 3s, and that's where you see under applicable levels, and then the Pediatric Trauma Center 1 and 2. So, but down there toward the bottom of the page, if you'll scroll down just a little bit, I just wanted to let you know, Cheryl wants to make trauma survivors more visible to the public, and, you know, just kind of highlight the needs of the trauma system. But also, I want you to pay attention to this standard, because anytime they take time to give ink space to something, even though it's not specific, like Trauma Survivors Network, but you read here, level 1 and 2 trauma centers should adopt a means of facilitating the transition of patients into the community using patient-centered strategies such as peer-to-peer monitoring. That's like one trauma survivor talking to another one. They've got a similar program, say, with breast cancer survivors, where, you know, one will go in and talk to somebody who's in the hospital for that. And there's also a trauma survivors program, and you can join through the American Trauma Society and do their Trauma Survivors Network program, and that's referenced over here. And then continuous case management that elicits and addresses patient concerns and links trauma center services with community care. Also pointing out patient-centered trauma care is an area that can benefit from ongoing integration of research findings. So number 1, Trauma Survivor Network, or serving the needs of the patient post-discharge, because they have a lot of unique needs. And then also the research aspect. So this is ACS giving credence to, this is an important area. And we see this here. It's not a requirement, but it's important. But the next iteration of the standards, or within another couple of years, you probably will see this as being a requirement. That's what happened to PTSD. In the Orange Book, they just said it's a very good idea to do that. This book is a requirement of certain trauma levels for PTSD. So I want to point things out as they come out in our discussions so that we're aware of them and you don't get hit unawares. So just a little plug there for that standard. So especially the higher level trauma centers, but there are ways to work within, you know, maybe other community services. If there are, then that would be a good thing to do also. Thank you, Cheryl, for your presentation. And just a reminder, let Cheryl know if you've got trauma survivors that she can highlight or sponsor or we can use in some way. Gina, you're next.
Yes. All right, a few things from me. I know you all have gotten your spring TQIP reports. So in the next week or so, you'll be getting that wonderful performance matrix summary for me for your spring TQIP report. So be looking for that. In the next week or so, Dr. Todd and I are just finalizing, making sure we don't have any changes or additions from last time. Work group updates, we are working on pulling together possibly 2 new work groups since we sunsetted AKI and opioid, and those were based on feedback from the winter meeting, and it looks like VTE and Time to Care had the most interest. So at the last GQIP call last month, because it is June, so last month, so a survey did go out post that call, looking for interest in that. Didn't get a whole lot of response. I'll probably send it back out. So those are the 2 work groups that we're gonna look at moving to. TBI will probably sunset after the summer meeting. We hope to have Eli present some data work he's been doing on that for that. Arbor-metrics update, we're moving right along with that, still on task for September, go live for that, working with some data stuff, had a call with them today and got some date issues in the test files that we're gonna noodle over and work through for that. I know Marie mentioned that there are no downloads to the state image trend patient registry for 2023 until the updates go out. The same is for the GQIP Central site. I know that there has been a few centers that have downloaded their first quarter of 2023. Obviously it went through, but that may need to be re-downloaded. I have reached out to ESO just to clarify once those changes have been made and the updates have been done, it will probably need to be re-downloaded. So you don't have to worry about any downloads to the GQIP Central site until all those updates are completed on that. So that's kind of where we are with GQIP right now. So we're just working right now on getting the plans together for the summer meeting.
Okay, thank you, Gina. Any questions or comments? You said VTE, and what was the other focus area we were going to use?
The time to care, specifically around
Gotcha.
transfers. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Because we know that's near and dear to Dr. Ashley's heart. So, you know.
Oh, yeah. So we've got pay for performance, which you see sometimes written as a capital P, a 4, and a P, you know, and that's the shorthand for pay for performance. Dr. Ashley's time to definitive care is D2D, ditch to door.
Ditch to door, yes.
I've heard that for 10 years. So maybe it'll be a reality soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
you and I are brainwashed with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it will be part of our first Arbor-metrics dashboard. So, you know.
Okay. Subcommittee reports. Do we have Kendra on the phone or on the call?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Great.
Hi, everybody. Just wanted to give you a little bit of an update about what the education subcommittee has been working on. So we're just kind of closing up some of the things from our projects from last year with the acute kidney injury and the time to transfer work that we were trying to help contribute to. And then really looking at trying our first set of goals originally was to really see how we could step in and support the rural hospitals and especially those who are trying to move toward level 3 and level 4 designation. However, as you've heard, this really fantastic grant option that Cheryl was talking about with the Georgia Trauma Foundation has become something that we're going to be partnering with the Georgia Trauma Foundation on and the Office of Rural Health to really try and help bring trauma-focused education into rural hospitals so that their staff can get, that they have access to the same kinds of trauma education that certainly in the larger centers that we have ready access to. So we're still ironing out some of the details. We'll be talking about it a little bit more at Tuesday's upcoming education subcommittee, but we're excited to be a part of this and really looking forward to contributing to trauma care throughout the state, not just in our own individual centers. So that's really all I have to say.
Thanks, Kendra. Any questions or comments? Okay, well, we're continuing with the K Club. If you've noticed, most of our subcommittee chairs, all except 1 or 2, their name starts with a K. So we'll go to Kelly Roker with Pediatric, if she's had a chance to join us.
I think she is still in a meeting.
Yeah, hey, this is Suzanne. Kelly
Karen,
told me
would
that
you or Rama? I'm sorry.
Kelly is still in her other meeting, but she did want to pass on that she didn't have any pressing updates for the meeting today.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So the PI committee, Karen.
Hey there, yeah, good afternoon. So acknowledging that goal for decreasing the time to definitive care or ditch to door time, the PI subcommittee is focusing on looking at decreasing the trauma patients in hospital time at the initial hospital. So all centers participating on the PI subcommittee have been tasked with identifying all of the touch points for the trauma patients in their facility. So that's kind of the first step to identifying where we have opportunities to decrease minutes. We're going to proceed with that by evaluating the actual processes associated with each of those touch points. That will include chart audits to identify, what current times are, where there's outliers, do a deeper dive on those individual patients to see where we can, decrease times with outliers, but also as a whole, let's work on decreasing the time for each of the individual processes, get our averages and then actually be able to evaluate after we've implemented some interventions to maybe collect some data and potentially even publish those facilities that have been able to shave off significant time by improving their processes. So it's a work in progress. We've only had our first meeting. I have received some of the quote homework that folks are doing at their facilities. And at our next meeting, we'll kind of review to identify who has similar processes and then work towards looking at each of those individual areas times to see who has best practices in place already that they can share.
Thank you, Karen. And I'm sorry if I missed it. Did you say that we have another meeting, don't we, coming up next week?
I don't think it's next week. I think it's the 4th. I think it's in the 4th fourth week of the month, but I can double check
Oh,
on that.
right.
I'll send it to you.
It's the
Okay,
22nd,
great.
Tracy.
Thanks, Raina.
Okay, thank you. And just as a reminder for the subcommittee chairs, make sure you share your meeting dates with Gabby. And that way she can put them online. So if people want to join, it's not, an exclusive, inclusive type of thing. We'll take any and all incomer, attendees so that we can kind of help add to the dialogue and try to improve whatever we're working on. So thank you, Karen. Kelly Vaughn, I'm sure you don't have much to report.
No,
So
nothing
can
at
you give us
all.
Yes.
Registry, we've just been rocking along, living the dream.
Yeah.
Okay, so registry subcommittee met April 27th. Marie and Gina have both talked to you about data deadlines. So in the registry subcommittee, we had ESO present so that they could explain to everyone kind of what's going on from a national perspective. But there are patches and revisions. They were very clear with us that until they can get the ACS upload correct, they're not going to work on state or any other patches that need to be done for uploads for anything other than national. So that has caused everybody delay. So that's both of them have kind of discussed that. That is that. The second one is the registry education. And so the commission, thank you, Regina, has budgeted for us to have some education funding. We have to determine how that's going to play out. And we had a leadership group that met to discuss the ACS announcement that they were going to convert to AIS 2015 starting January 1st, 2025. And so because of that, we know that registrars are going to need that AIS training 2015. So we're trying to line all of that up with this education funding, where that funding is going to go, whether it should be, the focus should be on the AIS 2015 training to get everybody through. So that will, more to come on that as we move forward. The other, Gina, I don't know that I heard you talk about this, but starting June, with the June 1st, the patients that arrive June 1st forward, we've been asked by the rehab committee of the Georgia Trauma Commission to report where our patients that are discharged to rehab facilities, where they are going in the free text option area, so that the rehab subcommittee could get just information. And right now it's kind of a free-for-all. We don't know what we don't know. And so we're just asking people to put in the names. And as we go through, I think as Gina starts getting uploads and starts looking at the information, we can narrow that down some. But with the ACS patch issues, the fact that we're not uploading data, and we don't have a definitive exact time on that yet, and then that this is all a new thing, it's what I would call the Wild West. We're just going to see what we get. Gina, do you agree with that?
Yes. I mean, it's kind of, here we are in the middle of the year. This was something that came out of the newly developed rehab subcommittee that Dr. Vox has headed. He is very excited and very gung-ho and has some great ideas, and has already, taken a 500.
Or we want to get some kind of like iPad in the room that they can pull out and auto generate an epic. Yeah, that would be really cool. But
that we have. And that was one of the things, right now we have, the kind of the buckets of where folks are going. But one of the things that they wanted to know is, exactly where they were going. So it was an ask, and it's just an ask. And we know we've already had some clarification, like what if some centers that are close to the borders or sending, out of state. And yes, just, if you put a little note, if it's Sunrise Nursing Home in Alabama, and that's what you put is Sunrise Nursing Home / AL or Alabama, sure, that sounds like a fantastic idea. We're just, do the best you can is what we're asking. We know it's not going to be perfect, but it's a starting point. It was great to hear from the burn centers who, even though they have a different registry, they think that they can collect this as well and send it in an Excel spreadsheet, because that's what we'll be doing anyway. And they'll have the same type of data from the burn centers, which I think will be very helpful for what they can look at. So, yep. I wish it was, a little bit better than a free-for-all, maybe for 2024 when we, get a first look at what we're collecting and they look at it, we may be able to refine it a little bit, but, we're just asking for folks to, to do the best they can.
And the only other thing I have is the 2023 data dictionary was approved and I distributed out. I think we distributed that out. I remember trying to send it, but a lot of people, for some reason, my email gets blocked when I have large attachments. And so I'm thinking someone else shared that, but now that I'm on the spot, I can't remember if we did that or not.
Marie, do we have the 23 data dictionary posted on the DPH website?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Okay, so there you go.
Kelly,
Marie sent it out also.
if you don't mind if I kind of throw this in here, I know we've not officially sent it out, but since we, kind of meet so infrequently, the registry subcommittee did approve a couple of changes to the registry. I know it's kind of been a long time coming, things that we asked for 2023, and I know we're halfway into it. But we did get some feedback from ESO on a few things that they are able to do. I did have a meeting with Marie and Kelly and Colleen, and we talked about them. And so look for those. We will be able, they're going to come in 2 different updates. They will not be able to be done until after they get the national things out. So I'm not, in a hurry. I have asked ESO to kind of let me know what that timeline may be like. But I know it's been so long since we've talked to them, but there will be some update to the organ procurement page, which we asked for. So it'll make more sense for that and a couple of other things. So there will be more information coming out about those, and they will get added to the dictionary. But just know that's on the horizon, but down on the horizon, we've got to get these national things done first.
Thank you, Gina. And that was the other thing we talked in our group about 2024, the requested changes for 2024, because these 2023 glitches have done what they've done for our centers and for the vendors, maybe giving them a little bit of a break for 2024 and just trying to get these things that we've been asking for pushed through. And I think that's it, Tracy.
Thank you, Kelly. Anybody have any questions or comments? And Kelly, I appreciate your work and all of the subcommittee chairs. You guys go above and beyond. I appreciate your dedication to working with these state groups and getting so much done. So thank you. And to you too, Gina, Katie, Liz, all our Marie, April. We make a great team. So I'm very proud of what we do together as a state. Crystal, you ready to start? Yes, please do share your screen. as we're waiting for Crystal to pull up her stuff and get started, just a reminder to make sure that you do let Gabby know about your attendance by scanning that QR code. She can put it up again at the end of the meeting. And just to make sure, because that's very important and part of your pay for performance in some cases. So make sure you get your attendance in to them. Okay, Crystal, can you guys hear us now? Crystal, you want to talk?
Can y'all hear me now?
Hear us now? Crystal, you want to talk? Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure if you can share my screen. Long story short, my screen is there so that I could just make sure to celebrate our successes over the past couple months. Bingo size is going really, really well. Sharon Grayson at Northside just wrapped hers, where she was having more than 200 participants a day. And then Memorial's got one that's ongoing, and several other trauma centers are coming on board in the near future. We recently had a crossover webinar event with the pediatric subcommittee. In that event, we had multiple speakers presenting about Child Abuse Awareness Month, and I felt like it went really, really well. Experience rating was 4.8 stars, so we must have did pretty decent. I want to thank everybody that participated in the Stop the Bleed, National Stop the Bleed Day webinars. Also well attended. Experience was great for everybody. Thank you especially for the new folks that came in and taught this time, and thank you to our veterans for helping continue to carry that torch. A couple things that are upcoming, and again, my computer's frozen. I can hear y'all and I can see y'all, but I can't do anything in Zoom right now. So Georgia Stay Safe Week will be the first week of the official start of summer, which is I think the third week in June. I tell you what, everybody wants one of those trauma awareness shirts. If you were to go to www.georgiastaysafe.org, all spelled out, www.georgiastaysafe.org, fill out the collaborators survey, kind of let us know what you did last year, what, if anything, you need this year or would like to participate in this year. I'll tell you, anybody that does that today, I'm going to draw out of that group of folks for those highly coveted Trauma Llama shirts. We also have 2 multiverse exercises coming up. While they're not necessarily intended to be necessarily GCTE IP and outreach initiatives, they've kind of become that because so many of you have participated and helped refine that whole platform of basically broadcasting our simulated MCI events, and I just really appreciate everybody for continuing to do that. We have had folks as far away as Kentucky and Louisiana and South Carolina, Florida participate, and we're actually developing cards, patient cards for some of their upcoming exercises so that we would in turn be able to use them in our exercises. So that is going really well. Another thing we had yesterday, Piedmont Henry, thank y'all for hosting our surge readiness course. It turned out to be a multi-regional, multi-center event. We had 4 trauma program managers in the room. I thought that was pretty good to get 4 of y'all in the room at the same time. So thank y'all for coming and being a part of that. And thank you for helping with the Stop the Bleed instructor orientation that took place afterwards. So a lot of good things going on. Love to see everybody's postings for Trauma Awareness Month and Trauma Survivors Day and Stop the Bleed Month. So just keep posting and keep doing the good things you are doing.
Thank you, Crystal. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, let's see what's next on the agenda. We have got the standard review. So if Abby, can you share the handout for, if Crystal can, I don't know if her computer will let her stop sharing, but if you can share. Okay, is there any way we can make that a little bit bigger, or is that pretty much it? There we go. Don't make it too little because you got the old lady here. Okay, I wanted to, as I mentioned earlier, my intention is to go through some of the standards. And so today we're going to talk about the trauma medical director requirements. And this is at a level, again, as you see under applicable levels, the first pink underline, level 1, 2, and 3 trauma centers, and then the pediatric trauma centers 1 and 2. So that's what all those letters and Roman numerals mean up there. And so just the requirements, take time to look at the standards and look at the requirements. So provide evidence of 36 hours of trauma-related continuing ed during the verification cycle. If you're pediatric, then 9 of the 36 hours must be pediatric specific. So they're telling you right off the bat, this is what they're gonna wanna see when they come in for survey. So keep up with this stuff in an ongoing manner. Level 1 trauma centers, the trauma medical director must hold active membership in at least one national trauma organization and have attended at least one meeting during the verification cycle. So this is something a little bit new. They're upping the bar. Level 2 and 3 trauma centers, the TMDs must hold active membership in at least one regional, state, or national trauma organization and have attended one meeting during the verification cycle. So just being members of the Trauma Commission or GCTE or the Trauma Medical Directors Group and going to these meetings, these state meetings we have, these level 2 and 3 trauma centers satisfy this standard right here. So again, keep up the information about your attendance and go ahead and have it for ongoing purposes of saying, I'm continually ready for ACS to walk in at any time. Talking about, there's other stuff that talks about board certification and measures of compliance. I like these standards in the new book because they're very specific about what you need to do to prove. And so they're listed right here. I'm not going to read them to you, but this is kind of, again, this is the alert to the trauma program manager. Go ahead and start gathering this stuff together. Put it in a folder someplace where everybody can get to it. And so then we can, you know, you're ready for whenever they come. Again, these are for level 1, 2, and 3 trauma centers, not level 4 trauma centers. If we could go to the next page, Gabby. So this is talking about the trauma medical director responsibility and authority. So again, this applies specifically to the level 1, 2, and 3 centers or the pediatric 1 and 2 centers and the definition and requirements. And the reason I want to point this out to you is this is the language they want to see that they can do this. So you got to prove that they can do these things. And so, in other words, this kind of wording, one way or another, needs to be in their job description and or it needs to be in your PI plan and or wherever else, you know, you have that you've documented responsibilities or authority of the trauma medical director. Use this language. It doesn't have to be hard. What I've done here on the right is I've got a box, and this is what the level 4s had that might be comparable to what is on this page and maybe the page before. And I got this from the standard guidelines in Pennsylvania. So you can Google the help out our level 4 colleagues, this is kind of what you might want to use in a dialed back version of what you've seen on this page and the page before. Does anybody have any comments or questions they want to make?
Hey, Tracy, this is Kelly. This is Kelly Vaughn. So we have a consultative visit in September. So I've got the PRQ PDF. And right now, what we have basically says, like this page, for example, 2.9, it says, tell me how your trauma medical director's responsibility and authority is demonstrated in your organization. Like that's and you have to answer it somehow. So I do think that they truly did just take this definition and they put it in a PRQ and they're asking you to address it just like you said.
Right. So, you know, it's not rocket science, but we've got to take the time to look at it and think. And I really appreciate you bringing that up, Kelly, because that's what they're doing. They're saying, prove to me that your medical director can do this. They have the authority to do this, or they have that responsibility. If you're not speaking right now, if you can mute your line, thank you. So I appreciate that input about that. So, you know, for the level 4, you can look at that stuff and try to go ahead. You know, I'm not sure, but that at least gives you a guideline. I don't know what the state will decide to do in the interim, but at least this is something of something you can use to kind of go by. But it's very true. Basically, if it's a standard, usually they'll say, you know, measures of compliance, and they'll say roles and responsibilities. So it's been a while, but one way that Dr. Ashley has shown his authority is we actually had to take 2 people off of our call schedule. This has been about 5 or 6 years ago, but they did not attend meetings. And so, you know, that's going to get us on the meeting attendance requirement. And no matter what he did and talking to him and all that, no matter how much we reminded him. So these were people that were just helping out with, you know, 1 weekend a month or 1 weekend every 6 weeks, whatever. So he ended up taking them off the call schedule, which was really painful for us for a while because we had to they had to suck up that call time. But, you know, that would be an example of doing that. Or, you know, maybe he shows his authority in that you notice something PI-wise within your department, but it's also affected by how another department performs or doesn't perform their duties. And so when he has to, you know, or she, your trauma medical director, may go to that other department manager, director, AVP, whatever, to talk to them and trying to get that. So those are the nuggets of things you want to remember about trying to get things pushed through. Even, you know, their participation in state things sometimes can show that they have responsibility or they're taking responsibility and showing their authority, you know, and bringing it back into the hospital. And also when they're saying this is what we need. And a very clear indication of that is the level 3-4 committee or the rule committee, you know, how they stepped up to the plate and they see the need for these things to happen. So that's a great way to demonstrate that that's going on. Okay, let's go to the next page. Anybody have any comments or questions? We need to go back up one more page, I think. Is this page 5 or 4? There we go. Program manager, right, requirements. So in trauma centers, again, this applies to 1, 2s, and 3s, but I've put something similar for the level 4 for trauma program manager. Again, it came from Pennsylvania, but it's just a suggested thing that you can go by. So, you know, in all trauma centers, the TPM must fulfill the following requirements. So in a level 1, 2, or 3, you have to be a full-time equivalent committed to the trauma program. You cannot do the trauma program and the burn program, or you can't do trauma and stroke. You can't do trauma and whatever else. You have to do just trauma. Provide evidence of 36 hours of trauma-related continuing education and hold current membership in a national or regional trauma organization. So again, whether that's ENA, you're a member of the Society of Trauma Nurses, you need to have that information and you need to keep it together. I've got an Excel sheet that I just created over the years. And so every time I attend a webinar, I attend one of these meetings. I don't always have a certificate of attendance, say for this meeting, but I do have the minutes that shows I was attending, and I'll put that down. I consider it continuing education, but you know, if you were keeping up with I do this also because I have certifications and I want to keep up with those hours. But you know, I say what we talk about, and then within that Excel sheet, I save my certificate of attendance if I have one, and then I link to it. And that way, when it's time for the survey, I can pull up all those certificates. Because if you look down there at the bottom, measures of compliance, they want to see those certificates or transcripts, or they want to see that that card saying you've got membership, or even if it's a certificate that you're certified, you know, go ahead and make a copy of it before you frame it and have that ready. So that's very important. Now, talking in combined programs that are level 2 adult, this is underneath where the FTE requirements change. Level 2 and 3 trauma centers, at least a half FTE of the TPM's time must be spent on TPM related activities. So, you know, it gives you a little bit of leeway that you can do some other stuff, but they're trying to protect your time as the trauma program manager. So that's very important when you're looking at trying to staff your program the way that American College of Surgeons wants you to staff it. Additional information. So down there, the TPM assumes day-to-day responsibility for process and PI activities as they relate to nursing and ancillary personnel involved in the care of trauma patients. So we got to partner with the TMD in the development of policies and oversight of the program. So it's not just looking at what happens to the trauma patients. If there's something that's not going over or not being performed well, say in the ED or the OR or wherever, we are still responsible for kind of knowing that or monitoring it and working with those other departments and letting our TMD know that this is what's going on. And that's when the TMD may exercise authority to say, you guys need to work with us, because this is a problem. So again, this is the kind of language that you want to see. And so how can you show that measure of compliance? Like Kelly said, the PRQ is going to ask you the same thing, which is PRQ stands for Pre-Review Questionnaire. So when you are surveyed by the American College of Surgeons, they send you a kind of a Word type or PDF document that has a bunch of questions. And say the one that I just went through in April, it started out as 30-something pages. We converted it to a Word document and we answered it in that Word document. And then we're ready where we can just cut and paste into the automated PRQ software for American College of Surgeons. But it started out as 30-something pages and it ended up 70-something pages long, because there's a lot of information they want. So, it's incumbent on you to go ahead and start collecting this stuff now. And that's why I want to share this with you. As you know about this, start just keeping up with it. It's just good housekeeping to keep up and be organized. I'm fairly organized at work. I'm a total mess at home, but that's okay. So, think about your job description. So anywhere that you've got to describe the TPM responsibilities or TPM what you're doing, wherever that gets described, whether it's job description, PI plan, put it in there. Put that language in there. Even on the websites, if you've got a website internet or intranet internal, or even brochures, flyers, whatever, use this language as much as you can, and that just backs up that you're doing what they want you to do. We can go to the last page now. Okay, so trauma program responsibilities and reporting structure. So again, some of this information, this is where they want to see an org chart. They're going to want to see your role profile or description, i.e. your job description. And I didn't put that little pink sign in there again, but also all this stuff should be either in your PI plan and or your job description. So look for this, and if it's not there, update it. But this is what they're expecting you to have, and this is what they're expecting you to do in a level 1, 2, or 3 trauma center, or in the pediatric trauma centers, 1 or 2. You know, and so you adapt it as you can. I hope this has been helpful looking at it. If you look at the bottom of the page, that is the URL for where I got the level 4 standards for adult level 4. So you can go look it up. You should have received this as an attachment in your reminder from Gabby. And that's really about it. Your org chart does not have to be really complicated or sophisticated. I ended up just doing a very simple one for my survey. The one that they have that I could use from the organization was more HR related, but not truly program related or service line related. And so I just did a simplified one just to kind of help with the discussion and the review of documents. Does anybody have any questions or comments? So as you can see, Crystal has added a few items to the chat, and just remind you to go and fill that information out. Get in the drawing for the llama t-shirt. So we've gone over quite a few standards here. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Does anybody have anything they want to share? I'll be the first to share that I'm celebrating that we finished our survey. It was April 19 and 20, and we passed with 1 deficiency as far as the exit survey goes. We have not received our written report. I hope to receive that sometime the beginning of July. And so I do appreciate Marie and April attending. I attended with, I think Melissa Paris actually attended also. And this kind of leads me to something else. And then just to let you know that we take very seriously, we've got a group that level 3 and 4 mentorship, where it's an opportunity for them the people to meet and just ask each other questions. Melissa and I have been meeting kind of in a mentorship, but I really look at it as a mutual learning experience. We've been meeting for probably 6 or 8 months every other week, just to kind of ask each other questions, you know, share, how do you do this? How do you do that? And, you know, it really helped me get more organized for my survey, but it helped her. She's got a survey in June. So she's one of the ones coming up for her survey. And then, so if any of the trauma program managers, like at level 1s and 2s, would like to have some kind of mentorship experience, we can work on that. And that's something that I've talked to Regina Medeiros about several times. We want to share the love or share the wisdom or whatever we can remember at this time. But, you know, we don't know everything, but we learn from one another. So I want people to feel like you can reach out. Regina had her survey April 20 and 21. So we kept the DPH folks hopping, you know, 2 surveys in 1 week. And I think she did pretty well and only had 1 deficiency. So kudos to Regina. I think we both feel like we've had babies or twins. Does anybody else have anything they want to share? Thank you, Melissa, for the kudos.
Tracy,
Somebody talk.
Tracy,
Okay.
I'll share. This is Kelly and Karen. I'm gonna put you on the spot too on this. Because I have the visit coming up in September. Just a consultative visit, but just to make everyone aware, if you have consultative visits coming up in the fall, I've been reaching out to the COT for about a month now, once a week. And because there are questions that have come up related to the PRQ, some things that I'm worried about with the data and the glitches, and we're not getting a lot of direction. Actually, I've been ignored on the emails. We had there was a webinar with TCAA yesterday on how to write a successful application. And it looked like there was pretty good attendance in that, but the surveyors were very quick to respond that this is not about the new standards. They had not been trained on the new standards. They had not seen the PRQ. And so they kind of shut down any questions. So we're still moving forward at this point, but I'm getting a little more nervous as every day progresses that I'm not getting any feedback from them. Rachel, and I think her name is Tanchez, I can't remember, but she's my contact there at COT, and she's trying her best to get someone to respond, but so far we've not been successful. So I don't know if I know Karen was dealing with some of the same issues. I don't know if anyone else wants to pipe up and give any feedback or give me any direction. I'd love to have any advice at this point.
So this is Winston from Cobb. We are actually going to be having a consultative visit also, and I just chuckled to myself when you were speaking because I feel your pain. It's very challenging to get information. We are actually working on our PRQ and trying to do as much as we can to fill out as much as we can and provide the information that they need, but it is a little bit challenging to get any word from them with regards to is this the way we want to go? How is this going to pan out? When I took this seat, I was told that all of the visits that happened in the fall of 2023 would be from the Grey Book. So we need to focus on those standards. I don't know, this is a little bit unnerving for me to hear that you are experiencing what you're experiencing.
Kelly, have you tried getting in touch with Molly Lozada? I know they're very overwhelmed because verification numbers have increased pretty, for a large amount. And then also, I know they have several open positions. That doesn't make it any better for you not getting help, but I'll be glad to talk to you. I don't know that I have the ACS answers, but if you want to, if you want to schedule a time we can meet for an hour, we could talk about it. I can just talk to you as far as in light of what happened during my survey. I had two very surveyors that were very interactive and very responsive to, my questions and concerns. One was from Pennsylvania, and then one was from Texas. And they both were very experienced surveyors, but of course I was surveyed under the Orange Book standards, but I can't really speak to the 22 standards in specifics, but as far as logistics or maybe how they've worded things, I don't know how much. I've got a 22 PRQ, but I haven't looked at it. I'm really just now getting back into my normal day-to-day activities after, trauma survey shock. So, but if you'd like to send, you know, some dates and times, and we can see if we can get together.
Well, the 22, the PRQ that I have, first of all, you know, one thing they said is beginning early 2023, it would be electronic. It's not electronic yet that I can find, as far as submission. And then yesterday during the webinar, they were talking about formatting and making sure that you're, you know, just on your reports, your registry reports, that your data matches up so that you can, if you're reporting 460 registry patients, that you're including your transfers in, you're including your direct admits, all of that kind of stuff that just makes sure everything matches. Well, in the current PRQ, there's no request for data. There's one page that I saw that asked for your highest level of activations and your different levels, but all of the true data reports that I know were in the old PRQ, I don't see in this one. So it's very, I know that they are working diligently, because even in the email, because the PRQ that they sent initially was in September of last year, and it's not changed. So it said then that they were formatting it, they were working on it. In the TCAA webinar, they mentioned again yesterday that they were still working on it. So for me, mine is due by July 31st, I think, and maybe it's July 30th, but I'm getting down to the wire, so I'm getting a little bit nervous.
Hey,
Oh,
y'all.
yeah, I can imagine.
Hey, this is Karen. So Tracy and I, or Kelly and I, excuse me, Kelly and I've already talked about this, but I'll share with everyone else that several weeks ago, I had some questions and eventually was hooked up with Molly by phone after we had several emails go back and forth. And she didn't have any visibility to the fact that, you know, our registry may not include the fields necessary to provide reports that may be required for the PRQ should it address the new gray book, which is what we're expecting, right? And so there may be additional reports that we will need to write, and certainly our registrar will need to go back into the registry and populate fields that would, you know, that will be added whenever, you know, this entire process is finalized. And we don't have visibility to when that will be and how long that will take. And Molly, you know, said, well, why don't you just start collecting the data now on some spreadsheets or something like that? And then, you know, when you submit your PRQ, you could submit additional spreadsheets with it. And, you know, we'll just put the info together. And I'm like, oh, well, this sounds a bit like a nightmare to accomplish. And so, you know, I've asked Kelly if when she does have her phone call with Molly, if I could kind of sit in and listen and see if she's gained any other visibility into the issues and has any other suggestions. But at this point, we're looking to move our consultative visit from September to next year. Maybe a week ago, when I talked about that with someone at COT, I was told that the next available dates would be in the end of February, beginning of March. And now just a week later, we're looking at May. So I think a lot of people that have fall consult visits are probably experiencing the same issues that we are and have decided to go ahead and move their dates, which has, you know, made it now go in just 1 week, basically from the end of February to May dates. And so I'm trying to get visibility into how we move that date. And I've sent a couple of emails to the COT regarding that and haven't gotten any visibility back. So
hey, it's Gina. I do know, as far as this is just I recently got the PRQ report writing package for the GQuip Central site. And so I spent some time with Shane when he uploaded it and everything. And he said, for those that have the PRQ report writer subscription, that he is currently working on updating that package with new reports that will address some items in the gray book. And he hopes to have that done fairly soon. And so some of those reports will be updated. Now, does it address, if it's a data field that's, not currently collected? No, but I do know that that's coming. That if you do have the PRQ report writer, the most updated subscription package, when he gets those updated, you'll get updated reports that address some of the new requirements in the gray book, is my understanding from Shane.
And I do know Molly's been on vacation. I know Rachel emailed me that, but she was supposed to be back. I don't remember if it was Monday or a week ago, Monday, but I still don't have any information. And I'm not trying to put anybody in a panic. That was not the point of this either. I just wanted to see if anyone else had any other feedback, or if we've, like those of you that have just gone through surveys, did anybody talk about the new standards, or is it, we're not talking about that because we're focused on your center, or I just didn't know.
I know from my standpoint, they did not talk about any new standards. They would once or twice, and Josie, chime in if you want to, but, or Faith, I'm not sure if she's on or not, but, sometimes they would refer to, in the new book, this has changed. Like if you had diversion hours, they would refer to some changes, but they wouldn't, that was really as far as they went.
Hey, Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, this is Ashley. Yeah, they did the same thing with us. They said, well, this standard will be different in the gray book, but they didn't really go into too deep of information about it. And in fact, when Regina had later emailed one of our reviewers asking a question about gray book standards, she said, oh, refer to Molly. She's our memory bank on the gray book standards. So I think I heard Mike think keeps cutting out that Molly's out of town, but it seems like they're putting a lot of onus on her to be the one to hand out this information.
Right.
And I agree
Right.
with
Thank
what you
you for
said,
that.
Tracy. What I remember is the pre-meeting we had, that's the time that they started asking us actually if they have a problem with the PRQ prior to the survey.
Right. And I think that was the biggest change for us, is that, 45 days before your survey, you've got to have all this information into them, most all of it. And then 2 weeks before this, a month before the survey, you got to have, maybe it wasn't a month, but you got to have a list of like 65 charts that they could choose from, but it's in an Excel sheet, and they're going to tell you they want, somebody with an AIS score of at least 3 or above in the thorax. And so when you look at these records, you really have to look closely to make sure, number one, did they really have that injury? Then number two, you want to look at your documentation and make sure, was your attending there on time? Was expert done on that patient? Was, all these things that you're thinking about, it really is very intense review. So if you're already in your, in or past your data year, I'd say start that. Now, all that should be sent to you in an email. There should be, the PRQ should be available on the American College of Surgeons website. If you go to the ACS and then the BRC, there should be, you know, at least for the current standards, I'm not sure about the 22 standards. Is that where you got your PRQ, Kelly?
No, they emailed it to us, and the last time I looked on the website, it said, you know, will be available electronically early 2023. Those centers that are being reviewed in September, you will receive, like, you'll be contacted, basically. Mine was emailed, so that's where I have it.
So my experience was a little bit different. They sent me an email saying that I should go to the ACS website, and that's what I did. And when I logged in, I was able to go to the link that says PRQ, and then you would see your hospital's name come up, and the PRQ would be there. That's how I found mine.
Yes.
So I was also wondering, I don't know, Tracy, if that could be arranged, those who are having surveys this fall, if we could possibly get together on a call and talk a little bit about some of the, you know, common issues and see how we can help each other.
Sure. I'm not aware of who's being surveyed when, but maybe, I don't know if April could help facilitate that, if she knows what centers are coming up for consultative or whatever visits, and or you guys could just do it yourselves. I don't mind joining the conversation. I just don't know or have an idea of who's included in all that.
So could we, those who are having their visits, send their information to one person, and then it maybe we can send it all to you, Tracy, and you kind of let us know, and we can get together.
Just let me know, or if maybe even you could have them send it to you, Winston, and I'll work with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't mind. I'm just a little hesitant right now for me to do it because I'm kind of inundated with stuff to catch up. I don't want to hold you back. But
that's fine. I'm willing if they send it to me.
Yeah. So Winston, if you'll put your email address in the chat box, and if any of you have a consultative visit or a visit coming up in the fall or third or fourth quarter of this year and want to talk, and we can set up a meeting for you guys to do that, that would be great.
And Tracy, I'm here. I'm, you know, willing to share and help in whatever way I can. We do have a list of everybody that's, you know, having their surveys, but I would, you know, want permission from the centers to, you know, disclose that.
Right. So, you know, maybe April, you could work with Winston and you guys could kind of put that together so that, you know, that way you can make sure you get the permissions that you need, and then, you know, just facilitate those conversations. And I don't mind being invited. I don't necessarily know if I have anything that I can input, but I'd be glad to attend just to be there. And that would be fine too. So Winston, if you want to get with April and you guys do that and just put your email address in the chat, that would be great. We're about to close out on our time together. I think we've had really interesting discussion. I'm sorry for the frustrations that you guys are facing, because I think being surveyed is frustrating enough. You know, just wanting to try to get everything documented, and then with all these unknowns, that's going to be really hard. So, but any way that I can help, be sure to email Winston if you want to be a part of this discussion group for consultation. It probably would be an interesting thing as far as learning stuff and making sure that you're capturing things. I realized getting ready for my survey that the way I did keep up with certain things, whether it was over under triage or transfers out, but the way I did it was not really didn't make it easy to fill out the PRQ. So I'm going to kind of change the way I collect my data or display it to make it more PRQ friendly. So that's the biggest takeaway I have from that. But thank you again. Make sure that you go back and that you have gone to the link to log your attendance for this GCTE meeting. Thank you for attending. I think we've got a new high here, over 127 or 28 attendees. And if there are any more questions, feel free to email me, tracy.johns@atriumhealth.org, or you can get Gabby at the Georgia Trauma Commission, and we'll forward your request or try to get you some answers. Thank you for attending today. And Liz, could you adjourn us? You might have lost Lynn.
Sorry, I have a problem with my mute button. Thank you again for everyone for coming, attending, and we are adjourned.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.